Hi, everyone. Today, I just kind of wanted to talk about what it's like to be in your mid to late 30s, kind of tying it all back into dating and things of that nature related to a comment that was on my last video. What is it that you really want out of life? You wake up, you want to have a house, you got to go to work, you know, with all this technology out there, the world is so connected. It's like sometimes this steals the fun out of things. There's no mystery. You want to go to a certain resort or a certain country. There's a video covering every angle of it, or there's a um pictures of everything, and maybe it's hard to experience something new. So I guess you could still experience it new when you go there, having your own experiences while you're there, but you might know what to expect. If I want to know what it's like to live in Alaska, for instance, there's hundreds of thousands of videos out there about living in Alaska, living in the Arctic. You could get a general idea of that when years ago it wasn't that easy. Maybe there was a magazine article with a few pictures and a couple pages of reading, and that's the idea you would have. But now it's really different. So in a way, I feel like some of the joys of life or the world are gone. And in one way, I would say it's like going new places and seeing new things. It's probably not as great or mysterious as it was years ago. And to tie that point in, I would kind of tie that into dating now and like marriage and things like that. Personally, there's a lot of guys out there now that preach and all these things about how awful marriage is and things like that. And that information's out there. Just go look into it, like a man's perspective of marriage after divorce or whatever. I'm sure you're going to find hundreds of videos, thousands of videos of guys saying in many cases it was the biggest mistake they ever made, and often leaves them in a financial mess and all those things. I mean, I've never been married, and I was kind of always pretty aware of that. I don't like to necessarily give credit to that group of men that had to find out the hard way that it wasn't the best option or the best choice, and things like that. You know, just based on the world and the way things were, I kind of became aware of that at an early age, seeing it in my own family and things like that. And just to tie into a comment in my video, a subscriber mentioned something about like we're all screwed, dating is over, or something like that. And I think it was framed in a way, it's like that's why I am, or some of us, like, indulge in gaming, because we're not. I mean, some of us, maybe if this was decades ago, we would have family, we would have kids, and instead of playing games, we'd have our wives and family and kids keeping us busy instead of having free time to play games. And maybe that's true, but and a great purpose of life probably is to reproduce and have kids and things like that. But I could tell you in modern day relationships, and I'll try to give my own theory as why it's this way, but if you're not careful with the women, obviously, who you marry, date, I mean, dating is okay. You know, you can date a girl and maybe realize, hey, I probably shouldn't marry her, but you know, you'll find yourself attached to her and things like that. But to be honest with yourself, is this a woman you should have kids with or not? And boy, I think there's a lot to it. I think in most situations in a relationship, when there's a man and a woman, a man naturally should be the leader of the relationship or not be a yes man or should be okay with saying no and having the final say. But kind of based on modern dating dynamics and things like that, women have so much more leverage in the dating market. And most men have no leverage, you know. I mean, you know, you go to your local gym and you could probably see a bunch of guys that are fit, probably have decent jobs and decently attractive and things like that. But it's probably a smaller percentage of guys in that age bracket than most of us realize. You know, if you put yourself in gyms and these places where there's people already pursuing a better life, that's definitely a smaller pool, and you know that's an important distinction. But again, these average women definitely have a lot of opportunity. So in their relationships, they can be a lot more courageous and doesn't mean they're not attached to you or have feelings for you often, but I think they have an easier time of shutting you down or disagreeing or not following your lead and really testing and pushing you to the edge because they know, regardless of what happens, if that relationship crash and burns, within hours or days, they can have a suitable replacement. And most guys can't do that. Me now, me personally, I I definitely, if you find a woman of my equal, like fitness, you know, charisma, looks, and things like that, she's definitely going to have probably 20 times the options I'll have. You know, I think you see like average girls within, you know, one day of being on Hinge, they have thousands of likes already versus, you know, a guy like me, I'll have a fraction of that, but I'll still, you know, guys are happy with their fraction of likes and matches and things like that because something for them to work with. But, you know, I think that just ties into my earlier point. It's like just even wanting to like travel and leave my house and go somewhere new. I do believe it's still important to experience that. But in a way, just, you know, I like to watch videos about Alaska and going to Sweden and all these things. And has that ruined it? Has that ruined it? Has that ruined things for me in a way? Like, you know, has it killed my desire to want to do these things? And same thing with dating and marriage and having kids. There's all this information out there that, you know, get my pre workout ready, going for a run today. All this information out there about how cooked dating is and how all these guys are getting screwed over in marriage. So, you know, believe me, I'm not dateless, and I know many of you are married or are dating and things like that. You eventually find somebody with time, but um, yeah, it probably ruins your desire to want to get married, and then it leads to, you know, not you're not passing your genes on and stuff like that, and that's probably an important aspect of life, you know. Wow. Then you think about having kids and, you know, the burden. you'll have financially for the rest of your life, and you know all the challenges of keeping things intact with the woman, and women are so have so much leverage today, and an ability to really test you to your limit, because really they already have options. They might be in a relationship with you, but if she's decently attractive and not obese or whatever, she's already got guys trying for her. Whether I don't care where she works, if she works in an office, I don't care if she's a nurse. There's really no. I've heard guys say like, "Oh, because she's a nurse." Like, I mean, it doesn't matter where she works. If she works at a pet store or a waitress, it's the same thing wherever. Guys are hunters. They'll find her and try to slide in however they can. So just stay fit, take care of yourself. You're gonna make mistakes, but just don't be the next guy here on YouTube that had to get married 5 times to figure out what was wrong for him. That information's out there. Be careful with what you do. Remember, just your health is wealth, and that's going to get you far. All right, thanks.